perfect process. Then by writing an addition, some of your writing, some your previous writing may be wrong, maybe weak in a structure, weak um, uh, in language, and after some time, when you see them, you think that they are not good things, and they are not good in a scientific report, and you must omit them from your report or your paper or your thesis. Okay, after these additional tips, we will reach to this part: questions your report should address. It means that in each report, maybe paper, maybe a thesis, maybe a proposal, you must consider some questions. By replying to these questions, really your report can be figured. Then consider all these questions and think about them. Think to reply them. Then let us to see these questions and discuss about them. What was the research problem? It shows your aim, your goal of research, and it shows the field of research and your objectives. Why is this problem important? Another question. It shows the importance or application of your research. It is important because if the research have a good application, or online application, or many applications in technology, in for example research, in other research fields, in the scientific world, by this by this by these applications, it shows that these applications really show you, or show that your problem or your research field is good to work, and it is valuable to work. But if the research problem doesn't have good application, it means that the research work is not so good. Then you must have some considerations. You, for example, may change some points or some notes of your research work to reach to a good and applicable research idea. Okay, how does the project fit into the context of other research? It means that you may have, or you must have, some considerations about other researchers, other or previous researchers, and your research work may or must fit to the previous research. Really, this is a story from the previous to now, present, and to future. For example, this research story start by some researchers and continue by other researchers, and then continue by your research, and will complete by other researchers in the future. How did you investigate the research problem? It means that your roadmap of the research. For example, maybe your research is in simulation field. Maybe your research will be in experimental field. How did you work? How did you investigate your research problem? By experimental work, by simulation, by some designing notes, and other things. What are your findings? It shows your results, really. Really, findings in your research are your results. Some of your results may be very, very important. You must consider them, you must focus on them. And some of them may be little importance. Then you after the consideration of the main findings, you consider the little importance findings. Another important question about the findings: what do these findings tell you? Okay, what are your findings? What do these findings tell you? At first, you focus on your findings. You for example, some findings from simulation process, findings from design and design results, maybe findings from, for example, from experiments, some experiments. And after this, what do these findings tell you? This is really this step, or this question really need an argument about the findings, about the results, about the graphs, for example, about the plots. Speak about them. For example, in your graphs, maybe you have some decreasing and decreasing of numbers, increasing of numbers. You must speak about them. Why decrease in your graphs? Why increase in your graphs? What do this increase tell you? What do this decrease tell you? And etc. After this, what do you conclude? Your conclusion about findings, about argument, about comparison between your findings and other papers, and this is really a conclusion. Then consider these questions. I suggest you write them in a paper, and in each stage of your work, see them. And you really, for example, in writing a paper, you have, for example, one or two or three or a section replying to these questions. But in a thesis, maybe to some questions you need to have some chapters as the reply of these questions. Then you see you have some little sections as you're replying to these questions. This will be a paper. Some very broad replying, some too much speaking, too much replying to these questions. This will shape your thesis. These questions very important, are very important. Write them, and in each stage think about them, reply to them, write your replies to these questions, and this will help you in your documentation. Okay, after this stage we will go to another stage, and what it is: steps in writing. What are the steps in writing? Free writing. This free writing, it means that you only write. You won't shape your writing. You don't have some sections. You only write. For example, write about the papers you have read up to now. Write about the experiments, for example. You have them in your research.